Good morning. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker-Carl, and I'm here with my good friends Karen and Catherine, and we're waiting on Angel to jump on, and I'm not sure if Dan's going to join us today or not, but if he does, great. And if you would like to join us, if you're watching us live on Facebook, I just shared the link in the description for this. I have no idea, though, where it shows up, so good luck finding that. Anyway. Today we're going to continue our talk about Love, Life, God by Jarrad Hewett. And last week we were talking about chapter 2. And I think that we didn't get to the very end where they kind of did like a little exercise to help us overcome our blocks, if you will, in creating our creation. And so, when we get going, we'll talk about that. And then we'll move into chapter 3 and just kind of go from there. If you're watching on here, comment below the video, let us know that you're out there, share your thoughts, and we'd love to have you on if you want to join us. So but before we get going, let my friends introduce themselves, and then we'll start talking about this chapter.
Hello, it's Catherine in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Hi, I'm Karen Lohoff in Mesa, Arizona.
Okay, there we are. Great. Oh, okay, it does show the description, and it shows the link right above the video if you're live on Facebook. So if you want to jump in here, then click on that link. It's a Zoom meeting, and we'd love to have you on here if you want to talk about this stuff too. All right, so let me open up the book here. So at the end of the last chapter, they were discussing when we are that thoughts create your reality. That was kind of the concept of chapter 2. And at the end, they were saying that, of course, we get stuck and we don't realize that we're creating our own reality and what to do about it. And the kind of the main thing that they were saying was to just repeat the statement, I am self-love, to put yourself into kind of just kind of clear out whatever it is that is blocking you and help you to remain in the positive creating state. But of course, we all get confused. We don't really know what we're doing because we're just trying to figure it out. And so at the end of the chapter, it gave us an exercise to kind of go through. And so I just want to kind of read some of that. And, while we're waiting for Angel to jump on and stimulating the conversation, we'll just kind of read through there and see what it says, and then we can kind of discuss it. So, okay, so at the end it was saying, all right, all right, you not only use your thoughts via your internal mind speak, but through them you send out waves and pictures and vibrations and thus shape your entire world. So it's kind of summarizing the chapter a little bit. We would now like to give you a wonderful exercise with which to plug into the flow of all that you are with regard to your individual creation. We have discussed energy with you, but we wish to show you just how much of your creation is yours. You see, you grasp the concept of thoughts creating reality, but when it comes down to your individual responsibility for creation, you sometimes think, well, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. We would like to show you that you are the cookie. You asked earlier about knowing if you're stuck. If you feel stuck, you most likely will be. Whether you were stuck because you were actually stuck or because you became focused on being stuck, it doesn't really matter. We simply want to show you how easy it can be to become unstuck. We're going to ask you to play with us and that you play along with yourself. If you feel resistance, if you feel that you have hit a lid or a glass ceiling or even a giant wall, that is okay. In fact, it is good. It will help us show you how to erase the boundaries and remove boulders that you have placed before you. Let me let Angel in here real quick. There we go. Okay. All right, so go within and find your I am presence. My I am who? And this chapter, and of course the book, I love the way that it reads because it's like it's like the God personality and then our personality kind of talking to each other. So that's kind of what it's kind of indicating right there. So The God personality is saying, go within, find your I am presence. And the me part of our personality is saying, my I am what? And so it says, find the part of you that knows it is source energy. Feel yourself with relation to this part of you. Oh, wait, that is a question. It says, feel yourself with relation to this part of you. Are you old? Oh, okay. Are you old friends? Are you meeting consciously for the first time? Realize that this part of you and the part that thinks you are separate are the same. They are both you. If you have any fear coming to the surface, move into claim, I am self-love. Love yourself enough to continue. You are only playing with energy. You are not coming to anything at this moment, or you are not committing to anything at this moment. You can always go back. Right now, just be. Feel yourself blend with this wonderful part of you that is source energy. See yourself as a fluid, light-like substance. The two of you become one moving field of love. Now, where would you like to go? What would you like to experience? Whatever you want to see come into your life, flow into that thing. Bring your energy into that space. Take an inventory of how you feel. Begin to fill the space with all the things that you want. Flow into the energy of having everything you desire. If you hit a wall, pause. Allow the wall to drop through the floor. It's been placed there by you, and you have all right and authority to simply let it fall down. May we use you to show the reader what we're talking about? And of course, then he says, I'll play along. And so the God says, what would you like to experience? How about being rich? You mean you'd like to have a lot of money? Yes. That's probably quite a common desire. Start by becoming one with your presence, all that you are. Allow yourself to flow into what having money looks like. And then it says, will you explain your process for the benefit of the reader? Well, I flowed up a hill into a really nice house. I went past my cars and into my giant home, and then it got lonely. I couldn't really bring in anything else because I got stuck in that feeling. This is not the first place you've fallen out with regard to money, but it is one that is obvious. You are holding the belief that you do not deserve to have all these things without someone to share them with you. Ergo, you are not enough. Wow. Wow, indeed. Let that go. Bring in some dogs. That did the trick. That opened your heart. We don't want you to focus on a situation which there is absolutely anything that will cause you to stop or recoil. Now you can be in the experience of what having money is like without bringing in all the other things you associate with it. Oh, this is interesting, but no, I keep going to there is no one else here. So you see, you are also holding that money equals being alone. It should be noted that when you first tried this exercise, your first thought was to start with relationships, but you changed your mind and went to money. You thought you could avoid looking at your junk. Sorry, buddy, it's time to bring all that junk up so that you can let it out. Okay, so what are we doing? We're showing you that you are creating from such a limiting perspective. You are bringing in every story you've ever told yourself about creating money. You think you want money, but you will have 9,412 beliefs that you're lugging around with you that are saying something contrary. This is just one example. Flow into what having money looks like one more time. Go back to your house, past your new cars and into your house. See your dogs. Now, when these relationship ideas pop up, simply allow them to drop out. If you must have a relationship, shift your focus and be in the relationship with yourself. It sounded silly, but it moved your energy, did it not? Well, yeah. Whenever you wish to create something, go out and feel its creation. You wanted an iPad for several weeks now, but you refused to buy what you wanted because you were in a lack consciousness. We asked you to visualize buying an iPad, and the first thing you energetically went to was the experience of not being able to afford one. You may not have even known you were stuck with this regard to money. In this instance, every time you thought about what you wanted, you sent the universe a message that said, more poor, please. but letting that go and just flowing out into the energy and experiencing buying it, you freed up a lot of energy. It will now be much easier to attract the money it'll take to buy the iPad. You could feel the walls you put up, could you not? Well, yeah, I could. Energetically, experience the things you would like to bring into your life. If you find there are stumbling blocks, allow the blocks to fall away. They are your blocks and you no longer need them. These things that block you from energetically flowing into this scenario are the same blocks that will keep you from manifesting what you want in the physical world. Don't get into your head and try to move them from there because your head did not put them there. Your energy did, your feelings did, your fears did. Allow yourself to say, these fears don't need to be here right now because I am only playing. Send them away and continue building your life. So what does that have to do with being stuck? You have to ask yourself, you have to ask how to know if you were, oh, sorry, I misread. You have asked to know how you know you're stuck. If you cannot energetically experience the things you want, and you know that the energy is what creates everything, how will you create them? You will not. You will become stuck. This is simply a way to unstick yourself early in the process. As you are letting go, you are moving energy. It is much easier to move energy when it is in this state. In knowing that you are only playing, you allow your fear to subside. You can then see what it would be like to have what you want. Having it in a fear-free environment helps to release the fear in the physical plane. It helps you to move energy that needs to be moved, and it helps you release the stories you no longer need. As you flow into new creations, notice when you leave the state of pure love. When you leave this state, you have encountered something within your story that you may wish to release. It is always up to you. Know that when you take this journey, you are not being asked to physically have any experience other than what you are creating right now. You are simply asking yourself to feel the possibilities of an infinite field. To create your situation from fear or resistance is lack. To choose from possibilities among possibilities is true abundance, for then all things are possible. So hopefully, you guys follow along with that exercise. It kind of reminded me when I listened to that, there was some other thing that we went through. It seems like we went through something a while back where it was a similar kind of a thing of just kind of visualizing, and then every time some negative thought came up or oh, I can't have that, or I blah, 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 that you just kind of let it go, and then you keep focusing because you're just playing, if you will. And I think a lot of times we get so caught up in the am I doing it right? Am I this? Am I that? And, with visualization and whatnot, is that we end up just thinking it's too hard. And rather than just kind of looking at it like we're just kind of playing around and goofing around, and that, these things that we think are in our way are, it's just an exercise, right? So, I started thinking about that with, with what I've been trying to visualize, like with this house. Okay. So we've been trying to look for a house for like the past 9 months. And so I go into my little visualization space and I start visualizing, and what comes up? Oh, well, this house is bigger than what we need. Or, there's no way I can afford this house that is in my mind. It's huge, it's massive. What am I going to do with it? All these little things, these thoughts, they're popping up. So it's basically just like, throw all that stuff away, let go, push it aside, let it fall down, whatever, and just play around. That's your house in your mind to play around with, and just love yourself in the midst of it. Say, I love, I am self-love, and just let go of those things. So I'm really interested. I'm gonna start working on that more and just keep, pushing aside all this stuff, because that's what happens in my mind. Is I'm like, oh, I want this thing, and then what comes up? Oh, I can't afford that, or I can't do that because of this. Or I know you guys have something to say on all this, so I'm going to shut up now.
You're talking about your house. It makes me think about this place. I was looking for a really long time in California because I have a son that lives in California, and I have a son that lives in Mexico and comes up to California. And one of my blocks is to think about all the taxes in California and how it's just absolutely impossible to be able to manage the taxes there. So I'm having this great time. It's on some kind of a hill. I've never figured out what is underneath all the little bushy things. There's a lot of round mass that's all green, and I have no idea what it is. But one of the things that I do when I dream sometimes, one of my favorite dreams, is I kind of stride down a hill. And so the fun part is to land my feet on those green bushy things and just stride down this hill towards another house that's really quite a nice house. And it's funny, the blocks that come up and the blocks that come up over and over, like you were saying. And I'm just going to mention this because I don't know if anybody else is reading this book on Kindle, but I have thought this whole exercise was in chapter 3. In fact, last night I read it again, and it's something that I would like to be able to get myself into the flow of, just kind of really enjoying that. And my reality is so different from that I have a hard time. I wish that in all the folks that are here, there was someone I could talk with about these things. And well, actually, maybe there is someone. Isn't that interesting? Maybe a wall just fell down.
I think it kind of refers to, good morning, everybody. Back to what Sandy was saying last week, kind of towards the end of it last week, where she was talking about manifest the feelings, or think about the feelings that you want to feel, to that what you want kind of thing. Like, how would you want to feel? So I think it kind of refers to that as well. Like, let all your barriers drop and everything like that. And just feel that happiness, feel that self-love in that moment of what you want, kind of thing. So yeah, that's all I have. Good morning, everybody.
You said that, Samantha, that everybody's so worried that they're doing it wrong. We're always doing it. And I think that a lot of times we get what we're asking for. We just don't recognize that we get what we're asking for, that we already have it, because it's not showing up in this way that we
Oh, I think she froze. Can you hear her? Oh, there she goes.
Am I going in and out?
You froze there for a second.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know where it cut out, but I think that when things don't show up the way that we expected them to, that we tend to disregard those things. And I think that, when people say, well, my thoughts don't create things, or, this manifestation thing is bullshit or whatever, just the next time that you have a bad day, pay attention to what's going on, because sometimes you can, you just have a day. It seems like these days just come out of nowhere, and it's just like one thing after another. And it doesn't matter if you try to shift it, you know, you can recognize, oh, I'm obviously doing something that's perpetuating this today, because it's just like one thing after another bad thing is happening. So how can that happen? And so we try to like shift ourselves, but we're still focused on the problem that we're trying to shift from. So it keeps perpetuating. So that's when I really recognize my manifestation skills are on those days, and I'm really good, you guys. I can bring about some of the most ridiculous things you've ever seen in your life that could happen. It's just like, seriously. But I'm so grateful that I learned this tool years and decades ago, because I don't know how I would have survived without it. But when, you know, just always going to that feeling, just the feeling of how you want to feel when you get whatever it is that you want, not picturing it. Although I have used visualization to bring things about where I literally pictured everything about it, but I've gotten better success when I just go to the feeling of how I want to feel when I have that. And the funny thing about that is most of the time I'm already at that feeling. So it's sort of a tricky little thing that catches you in the butt when you finally figure it out.
I think this perfectly segues into the next chapter, and because that's what it talks about a lot in chapter 3 is the self-creation aspect of it, and how we tend to get in our own way by simply making it too complicated, and you know, which makes sense. One of the things that it was saying was that even when you try and visualize a picture, you picture something, that it actually can limit the possibilities of what, you know, what we might actually accomplish. And when instead we go into the feelings instead of the, you know, the exact whatever it is that we think we want, then we end up getting something much greater. And it seems like we've learned that somewhere else before too. And I can't think in my head where it is that we talked about that, but I don't know, maybe it'll come up at some point. But
I think change your thoughts, probably.
yeah, I think that's one of them for sure. And it seems like there's something else too, but that one definitely is one of them. Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life by Wayne Dyer. That was when we went through the Tao Te Ching. Isn't that one? I think there was so much in that book. We were on that book for what, a year and a half, 2 years, something. It was a long book. But yeah, but the other thing that it talks about in chapter 3 is it talks about, sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here, about we kind of have this idea that you know, when we want something, it just takes so long for it to be created. And yet what they're telling us is the reason it's taking so long is because we say we want this thing. This is what we are saying that we want, but what we're actually believing is something completely different. And you know, for instance, just like, you know, me in this house, and you know, a few years ago I started visualizing this, you know, dream house that I have, you know, in mind. And for a while I was really staying in that feeling, but then I start looking for houses now a couple of years later, and I'm like, oh, that's not it, oh, that's not going to work, and oh, the price points are so high, and if we really are going to get what I want, it's going to be so expensive. So I have all of these things, or it's going to take so long, you know. And so, like you were saying, Catherine, is, you know, here I am, these are the thoughts that are coming to my head, so that's what I'm actually manifesting. I'm manifesting that it's frustrating, and that it's hard, and that it keeps being. So, oh, I gotta plug my computer in, it's gonna die on me. Okay, there we go. Don't want to lose what we're doing here. So now I lost my train of thought. Somebody else jump out and say something.
I wonder if it could help you at all while you're touring a house and a block comes to mind, if you could, take a moment and stand there and just observe how things could look if that, if what you were looking at wasn't there. Like, when they're doing the fixer-uppers and they draw all those new walls, or the minus the walls, or the the furniture, different things like that. I wonder if you couldn't play with that a little bit and just kind of say, this looks kind of close to my house, the house that I want, but it has this extra wall here. Boom, let the wall go. I just wonder if you couldn't play with that a little bit.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure I can. But I think my biggest issue is really the blocks that keep coming up in my mind of why the particular house that I had in mind isn't going to work. It's not going to be working, but it's not going to work because of this or because of that or blah blah blah. There's just all these different things, and I feel like what Angel was just saying is to stay focused in the feeling of what it'll feel like when I have the house is probably a better place to be anyway, just because of the fact that in here they're talking about when we come up with these ideas that we think that we want, is when we visualize something specific, it actually limits us. And so I want to kind of I've been working on focusing more on just getting into the feeling of what it's going to feel like when I come home, to my home. And because it really doesn't matter so much about the specifics of the house, because realistically, I think that anytime that we're trying to make something happen in our lives, it's because we want to feel a certain feeling when that experience happens. And so I think that if I can just get in the feeling, and then every time that something comes up that is against the feeling, then I can just let those things go, and particularly point it in the right direction, I guess you could say. Because what's interesting is that the things that I have manifested while being in my house in my mind have it was always related to the feeling that I had. So for instance, when I was in the house, I'm like sitting down on the dock and the water's going by, and here comes my grandchild. Now this is before the grandchildren came along. Okay. So here comes my little granddaughter. She comes over and she's talking to me, and I'm sitting in my chair and we're talking. I don't know what we're talking about. We're just kind of smiling at each other. And I see her in my mind and I'm feeling that feeling of love and all of that. And within a very short period of time, what do I find out? I find out Angel's pregnant. Now, it turns out that she wasn't the one that had my granddaughter, but she had my grandson, who I also saw in a different visualization, that where we were sitting out on the dock and we were playing, and I had two grandchildren there and he was there. And I was feeling the feeling of being the loving grandma, and so I end up now I have four grandchildren. This is in a very short period of what is 5 years or something since then. And of course it all was just like tumbling for you. Well, they're 4.5 now. And then my daughter-in-law is pregnant again, so I'm going to have a fifth grandchild here coming in June. And so somehow those feelings of being the loving grandma and having the grandbabies, I manifested that like magic, it seemed like. I mean, obviously, Angel, you were helping this, but you didn't know I was doing that. And it just kind of worked out that way. And there's been other things where I was just really in the feeling, and those things have kind of, come to pass in one way or another. And but every time I try and focus on the house, It's just it's not happening. But when I focus on the feelings of what I'm feeling with, you know, in certain situations, then that seems to kind of, you know, come together. So, yeah, I think I just needed that reminder, you know. So anyway, let me jump over to the Facebook chat real quick, Lori.
Yeah, that is definitely my go-to when and for, you know, advice for my kids too. Like I'll be talking to my son and, you know, we'll just be at a point where we don't know how to proceed in a certain manner, or we, you know, we don't know where money's going to come from to pay a certain thing or whatever, you know, and we just agree, you know, just feel the joy and the relief that we're going to feel when that's taken care of, you know, and leave the rest of it to God. And somehow that shit works out. I don't know how. Like, it's really mind blowing sometimes if we can just move ourselves out of the way of how we think it's supposed to happen, and then suddenly it happens.
With this particular exercise where the person is trying to describe how things are for him or her about money, the thing that really chimed my chain, if you say it that way, is I had never thought of the money aspect having to do with a lack of a relationship. And I know that I've talked on this program many times about how my, you know, biggest deal in life was wanting to have a good man, you know, since third grade. And I've had, you know, 2 husbands and things haven't worked out at all. And I have actually gotten myself really tangled up. I had decided that I was just going to create my own money, my own, you know, my own situation. And I had no idea that I was tangling myself up with this whole thing of not having a companion that I wanted to share this money with. And you know, there's really a lot for me to think about in that exercise. Maybe too late. I always think it's too late, but it's nice to see some heads shaking that it maybe isn't. Anyway, I think it's quite the magic exercise because you know, I just recognize myself being totally confused and allowing other people to say to me how things should be, and my my clear unhappiness with with what they were trying to get me to feel or get me to think. And this is just one more reason why I really enjoy participating in this group, is that I have people that I can talk with about these things who understand, you know, the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, I think this is a really great exercise, and I kind of want to suggest that for anybody who has right now in your life, if you're sitting here going, I've been wanting blah blah, and I've been getting all this instead, is to maybe ask yourself, okay, why do you think that you're getting these other things, you know, or not getting the thing that it is that you want? And odds are good, I think, that the blocks are going to pop right up for you. They're going to be obvious. And, you know, so for instance, with, you know, with me and creating, you know, trying to get this house, is that immediately stuff will pop up in there going, you know, oh, it's, you know, it's going to be too hard to find a house at this price point that is the size that I want, that is this, it is that. Those are the blocks, right? You know, it's not, it's too hard, it's too this, it's too much money, it's too, you know, it's more house than I need, et cetera, et cetera. And then it suggests to go into your mind place, if you will, or go into that feeling of source energy, the I am self, and just play around, play around. So when you're in your mind and you're thinking about the thing that you want, notice what blocks come up, what negative thoughts come up, what comes up when you say, I want more money. I don't know how. Okay, I don't know how. That's a block, right? I want more money. I can't do it. Well, that's a block. You know, I want more money. Well, I can't have more money because my spouse, blah, 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 you know, okay, there's a block. So, you know, or if I want a new car, like what he was talking about in the book, I want a new iPad. Well, I can't have that because I don't have enough money. There's a block. Okay, if we're in our mind space and we're feeling this, the feeling of, oh, that would feel great if I had this new iPad, or I had this new Xbox, or I had, you know, a new house or whatever. What does it feel like? And then when the negative thought comes up, is just kind of let that go and be like, I'm just playing. We're just playing around here. That doesn't even matter. It's irrelevant. I can push that aside and I can just play around like I'm watching a movie and experience the feeling, or the oh wow, that would feel so good. The coming home feeling, the home. What does home feel like? And that's what I'm going to focus on. So so you guys give me an idea of something that is that you're wanting right now in your life, and maybe some blocks that are coming up for you that you can think of right off the bat. And then what feeling do you want to be in when you have that thing?
I don't really have something right up. I just wanted to kind of go off of what you were saying. It just kind of dinged a bell in my head when I was growing up. I remember you used to always tell me whenever you want something, you know, if you think you need this, or if you want this, or if you need this, you know, tell yourself, I will have it. You know, get a picture of it, throw it up on your wall, you know, look at it. I will have this. It's something that you told me on a regular basis. I remember growing up in high school, and you know, just growing up, you always told me that, you know, if you want something, if you really, really want something, you know, print out a picture if it helps, you know, just think about it and tell yourself, I will have this. This will happen. And so I just kind of thought it was a little add-on to what you're saying. You know, if you want to focus on the feeling, you know, also instead of saying, I want this, I need this, try, you know, switching the words of saying, you know, I will have this. This is mine. I will have it. It will be there. You know, I will feel these feelings, you know, things like that, you know, might kind of help with, you know, a play on words, you know, switch up the wording of, instead of saying, I would like to have this, or I want this, you know, while you're manifesting, say, I will have it, you know, so it might help change the energy flow a little bit too. So that's just what to add on there. So.
Well, and there's a lot of times I have caught myself saying, you know, I want this, or I want to feel this way because I'm so tired of feeling this way. You know what I mean? I want to have this because I never want to feel like this again, you know, and you got to leave that last part out of there because that just brings about that's like the whole, and I know, I'm sorry if I repeat myself a lot, and I hopefully we're the only ones that have to listen to it all the time, but for years I was focused on healing my body. Like I have to heal these things that are wrong with, and I had legitimate things wrong with my body, you know, and I thought it was a legitimate thing to focus on healing it. But what I figured out was the more I focused on healing, the more things I created in my body to heal. So I had to shift my focus to how I wanted to feel when everything was beautiful, and, you know, I had to focus on wellness instead of healing, if that makes any sense. And it's a tiny little shift, but it's a huge shift, because when you're focused on healing, there's always that background of what are you healing from back there. And as energetic beings, that is somehow a request to the universe. That's why I've always had a bit of a hang up about being a quote energy healer, because I don't want people to have to need healing for me to be able to do my work. Like there's a catch there for me, that and I don't bring in money in that aspect, and I know that that's one of the reasons why I don't bring in money in that regards, because I have hangups about, well, it's God's energy, I'm not doing the healing, you know, it's just like flowing through me. And so the point I'm trying to make, if you haven't caught on yet, is that we have all these conflicting thoughts and things going on, but yet every one of those thoughts carries a vibration. And so, like Samantha was saying, if you think that you're asking for such and such, but you seem to keep getting something else, it's because of some of these little conflicting thought processes. And back to self-love, and I know we're getting close to the top of the hour, so I'll make this my final thoughts. But going back to self-love, there's self-love, and then there's self-love. Like there's so many levels of self-love. Like it's really easy to say, oh, I am self-love. Oh, you know, but are you really? And I know it just takes a moment to make a choice in your mind, but we have layers and layers and layers of denial, of feeling that we're not worthy of certain things. And a lot of this stuff goes back to things that happened to us in our childhood, traumas that haven't been healed within ourselves. And I think a huge piece of self-love is, first of all, being honest enough with yourself to even allow those things to surface, because we tend to stuff all that stuff and we tend to tell ourselves none of that matters. And I am a huge one on this, because looking at it from we planned all this before we came in, and so nothing that happens is really, quote, wrong, because it all has a purpose and it all has a lesson. Therefore, there's no reason even for the word forgiveness, because nothing should need to be forgiven. Like, you can go down this rabbit hole to the point where you don't even allow the recognition that things have happened to you that have caused you hurt. So whether you believe that it's something that deserves forgiveness, because you can look at it from a higher spiritual being perspective as the observer, and you can say, well, I don't really need to forgive them, because, we planned this before we came in, that so-and-so was going to do this to me so that I could learn this. So even if you're looking at it from that huge outward spiritual perspective, you still have to remember that we're human beings that have feelings that get hurt or rejected or whatever that is. And we need to have enough self-love for ourselves to recognize those things and just bring it to your consciousness. You don't have to dwell in it. You don't have to stay in therapy for the next 20 years over it, but you do need to let it rise to your consciousness so that you can acknowledge it and say, oh, yeah, that did make me feel unloved or abandoned or what, and just recognize that and embrace yourself. Have enough self-love and empathy for yourself to acknowledge that and hold that. You know, I think that one of the biggest stresses that we each face, and I'm sure that every one of us faces it, is that I'm facing whatever it is, and it could be 200 things. I'm facing this alone. Nobody understands what I'm going through here. I'm facing this alone. And yet every one of us feels that way, right? And we're not ever really alone unless we abandon ourselves. That's when we're really alone, is when we abandon ourselves. So take that self-love to a really deep place, you know, but a very basic and human place too. And acknowledge these things so that you're not running your life energetically at 75 years old from a 5-year-old standpoint, you know, still dealing with those same hurts, mostly because we resist it because we know it's going to hurt so bad if we feel that. Well, that's the last thing we want to do. We don't want to feel that. You know, why would I want to feel that? That's going to make me cry. It's going to make me angry. But that stuff is inside. And if you don't acknowledge it and let it go and release it and have that much self-love and empathy for yourself, then those vibrations, when you're wanting something, when you're wanting to manifest something, those subconscious vibrations of unworthiness or whatever will mess up the energy formula there. And then you're getting these things that you think that's the last thing I would ever want, but that's what you're actually manifesting. Did any of that make sense? I hope to God so. I love you guys.
Yeah, for sure. And it reminded me of the book that I read a number of years ago, Zero Limits by Joe Vitale. And in there he talks about using the 4 statements of I am sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you as clearing statements. And when you're feeling these things that you don't want to face, one of the hardest things is this, we have this what's the word I'm looking for? Like we're upset with ourselves. We're you know, I should have this, I should have that, I could have this and I didn't. And so all that negative self-talk that we have on ourselves for whatever it is that we're trying to push down or not face, or things happen to us, and when we face those things, sometimes we realize that there's all this, what did I did it wrong. I should have done it a different way, or I should have made a different decision. And and maybe that wouldn't have happened, or maybe I'd be in a different place than where I am. And when we use those statements, when we just say, I'm sorry, and we say that I'm sorry to myself, to the universe, to the whatever, what does that feel like? It feels like just a washing over of you of, I'm sorry. And you don't even have to say it to any specific thing, but when you're feeling a feeling, or you're trying to face some shit that you have going on in yourself, and you can just say, I'm sorry. and then transition into, okay, because you've said I'm sorry, please forgive me, myself, the universe, God, everything, how my place in all of this pain and unpleasantness. I'm sorry, please forgive me. And then thank you for that forgiveness. Thank you for saying I'm sorry. Thank you for just thank you. And then end with I love you. I love you no matter what, no matter how we went through this, no matter what we experienced, no matter all of these things. I love you. And that can help clear out a lot of that. I remember there was a time when, when my husband and I were having a really, really rough time, and I was struggling a lot, and I would just repeat, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you. And I would just repeat it over and over again when I would be in that like space where I can't think of anything else because I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm just in that unpleasant, and I would just repeat it over and over again. And because all the layers, you're talking about all the layers of all the bullshit and all the crap and all the everything, all the negativity, all the self-talk, all the everything are so deep, and we don't even know what they all are. But our deeper subconscious knows what I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, knows what all of those things are, knows what those are energetically, just like the statement, I am self-love. Our energetic being knows what that means, and knows what it means across all levels of all the dimensions of all of our thought processes, of all of our feelings, of all of the universe, of all of everything. And we can let go because we don't know how to fix this stuff, right? We don't know how to fix all of these feelings that we have. We don't know how to fix all the crap that went on in our lives, all the things that we're holding ourselves back, all the limitations we're putting on ourselves, all the beliefs that we have. We don't know how to fix all that. It's so complicated, or it seems so complicated. But sometimes it's not as complicated as we think it is we just need to just release it by saying some simple statements that we know energetically our whole being knows. And if it's simply, I'm sorry, or please forgive me, or thank you, or I love you, or I am self-love, or what was Sandy saying the other day? She was saying some statements too that are very, very similar. And I can tell you that those things in and of themselves help me get through a lot of stuff. And anytime that I have frustration with another person, or just like recently, I've had a lot of stress going on with a lot of things pulling me in a lot of different directions, and I just don't know what to do with all of it. And so I'll just say those statements, or I'll just simply just be in a state of just saying thank you to the universe, anything along those lines, to just kind of switch my feeling into a different feeling. Like what you were saying, Catherine, is when you're talking about wanting to be healing yourself, but yet by thinking about healing yourself, you're recognizing you have an injury or an illness to heal. And so then you shift into this, oh, I'm injured, oh, I feel sick, right? And so it's just like, oh, I don't need that. So if we can just refocus and change our thought to love or forgiveness or thankfulness or anything along that lines, is even without knowing what we're doing something to change our energetic being. So that's kind of what I was thinking on that. And Angel, when you were talking about the things that I used to say about, I will have this, and or and that made me think of just switching over to of course, when we were younger, we didn't know what we know now. And what I know now is to switch more into the feeling of what it will feel like when I have the thing, versus just making the statement. And what does that feel like? And so, yeah, because I think that down at the core of everything, and all the things that we think that we want, or we think that we want to experience, or we think whatever, is there's a feeling down there of whatever that is. And it's either, I feel like that the deeper when we say, I want to have more money, it's because we want peace in our life. We want more love in our life. We want to experience happiness. We want to experience security, etc., etc. But what does that feeling feel like at the core? It's just a feeling of love and peace. And what if we just go straight to the feeling of love and peace, and we skip over all the crap that we think that we need, and just allow for the love and the peace to come into our life, and just keep putting ourselves into that feeling? Then what'll happen? I mean, they're basically suggesting that in that space is limitless abundance. And so if we just keep going there, and every time we think we need something and realize that that's a energetic, I don't know, we're putting up, well, in order for me to have this feeling, I have to have this thing first. But if we just go to the feeling, maybe the abundance and everything will manifest in ways that we can't even imagine, that would be even more wonderful than we possibly could know, because maybe our subconscious, our God self, would be creating something that would just be so amazing. I don't know. I know we're past the top of the hour, guys. So share some final thoughts and we'll wrap up for today, and then and we can continue our discussion next week.
I just had a couple final thoughts, kind of to go play off of what you said, Catherine, and what you said, Mom. Kind of the word just slipped my mind. But what I was thinking was, of acceptance. When you're going through all of this, the shit that you went through in your life, and why you do the things that you do now, because of what happened. I've kind of started to go on the thought process of, I accept that this happened to me. There's, I could have gone back and done it differently, but if I had done that differently, would that still put me where I am at today? Because I like where I'm at today. I got 2 beautiful children. I have a guy that I'm completely in love with. We have a house. Hang on. I completely love where I'm at today, and if I had gone back and done something different, would I still wind up here, kind of thing? Yes, I still have to go through and tell myself I love myself. I still have a lot of self-acceptance that I need to do too, but I'm slowly working through it all. And I've learned that, if I just accept it and I quit fighting it and everything like that, like, yes, this happened to me, like kind of admitting, like, yes, I got to quit denying it, quit trying to fight it, like, I accept that this happened to me, and that's okay. And that kind of also is a big thing of what you told me the other day, or not the other day, but not too long, our conversation that we were having, these are the choices that you've made. You did this choice and because you needed it, you decided it, and that's what you wanted at that point in time. And that's okay. It's all okay. No matter what you choose, no matter what you do, it's okay, because there's no right or wrong answer to life, really. And that's kind of what it goes into with chapter 3. There's no right or wrong way to do it, and that's okay. So I've started to just accept things that have happened, the way that things are, that happened to me. It's like, that's fine. It's okay. Once I can accept that, I'm like, all right, I've accepted it. I can move on now. I can go through and kind of feel those. And it's like, all right, if I didn't do that, then where would I be now? Would I be in a worse position or what? Sorry, I feel like I'm going in circles. But yeah, just instead of, just a different way of looking at it, just kind of accepting that happened. And it helped me move through a lot of shit too. It really has, just accepting the things are, this is how it happened, so just, I think just another way of saying it is acceptance. So, all right, I'm losing my train of thought. Those are my final words. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to add one little, Karen.
That's okay,
Come on
Catherine.
now, honey.
You have a lot to share.
It's going to be real quick. You can just hang out right there. I just want to add one little quick thing to the, I never can say it, Ho'oponopono or whatever it is. Especially when you're saying it to yourself, like when you're in those moments and you don't know what else to do. And so you're saying that. When you say, I'm sorry, say it more from, I'm sorry, like as a person empathizing with another person. I'm sorry you're going through this not right now. Not, I'm sorry that I effed up 20 years ago, or I'm sorry that I didn't do that better, or I'm sorry. Do you see what I'm saying there? It's not I'm sorry that I messed up and I did this horrible thing wrong, because there's no right or wrong. It's more of I'm sorry that you're going through this right now. Please forgive me for judging you. So sometimes there's just a couple of little extra words that I think would be helpful, at least for me, going in there, because otherwise I can attach, please forgive me for all this horrible stuff I did. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's that little additional thing, that little additional personal jab that you can do to yourself if you don't add in those extra words sometimes. Come on, Karen.
I can really relate to that. I remember the first time I tried to practice that, which was many years ago now. I really resented the I'm sorry, because I just felt like I had so much to be sorry for. I could never cover all the sorries. And, it is helpful to think of it the way that you suggested, and also the same way, please forgive me. I mean, we can all use please forgive me, in the right way, with the right thinking. And we're all trying to learn better how to think, and how to change our thinking, change our thoughts, how to get the energy to flow in the right direction. All I was intending to say is that I always feel this way being a part of this group. I just love it. I love you folks. I love the references back to all the different books that we have covered. Just love you all.
Oh, I just had one more thing. It's kind of like when you say I'm sorry, in a way that it's kind of like acknowledging, like I'm sorry, I see that, because we as humans, we like to be acknowledged. We like our feelings to be acknowledged, what our thoughts are, and that's what we all, like. I know that, when somebody's like, oh, I see that, I see you're going through this, it feels good. It's kind of like you're not alone. It kind of goes back to the whole feeling alone kind of thing. It's like you're not alone, and when you say I'm sorry in that sense, with that feeling of I see that you're going through this, it's not like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm going to try to help you, or, something like that. I'm sorry I did this, or something like that. It's like, I'm sorry, I see that you're going through this, and I'm really sorry, kind of thing. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you. We love you. I love you.
I love it. I love it all. I think that that every perspective that we can have on these ideas is helpful for all of us, and for anyone who might be watching out there. I know that what we talk about helps. It helps somebody somewhere in some way, shape, or form. Even if you don't ever tell us, we know that we're helping. And but if you want to tell us, then by all means, put a comment below the video and let us know how we helped. And like the video if it's on YouTube or on Facebook, wherever you happen to be watching it. And if you'd like to participate with us, we would love to have you. We would love to hear your perspective on these things, because we know that what you have to offer can help others as well. And by helping others, we help ourselves, and by helping ourselves, we help others. So it's just a continuous, energetic flowing of awesomeness that we're all putting out there. So, anyway, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend. And so anyway, if you want to join us next week, there'll be some links below this video where you can jump into our Facebook group, connect with us, and ask to participate if you'd like to. So with that, have a great, awesome, amazing week, and we'll see you next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.